VFM here, perhaps they might even consider banning that Chang'e, but instead it will lock away that Kaya, and it will not see the light of day for Game 2.
Yep, so this series we will not see the divine judgment from this particular hero, and again, another Kufra ban, Evos. They are just target banning. They are willing to give the export away, and VFM will jump at the chance.
That's right, and export is definitely one huge pick that Evos SG has not been able to actually secure so far in this sort of matchup between VFM. But I would say I'll take Grok any given opportunity. But with that sort of export coming into play, which means that Evos needs to deal with a little bit of that split push as well as the dives coming in from the export with the Firaga armor popping out with Last Insanity. So that's one thing that they really got to keep their eyes upon. But Obami here, what is he going to go in for? Maybe he might just go in for a marksman or even yet another fighter coming into his table.
Yeah, and VFM, they're willing to sacrifice that Grok simply because if they go for Grok themselves, you're giving export away to the Evos SG. And VFM crushing impunity in the previous series with this particular hero, they feel confident on it. Carry being picked up by Evos SG, and I think it's time for VFM to bring out that Akai to give T-Max that hero that he has been shining on this entire day.
That's right, and I've been talking about how similar both teams actually play, and now they even go in for that sort of similar setup that they usually go for. And Chang'e has been stolen away from Oh Dear Bambi. A little stir is coming in from the players. I guess it's a gesture of, okay, what's next for us? What should Evos go in with this final pick of phase number 1? Now, I feel maybe getting one fighter in to the table will be great because they've already got the export, so they should respond to it before they get some of all these core picks being banned away. So one good pick would be Tamas, which we see pretty much frequently from inside of Evos SG.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Tamas. There you go. As Evos SG heard our calls, they will lock in that hero, the fighter that they need. And in the previous game, they did, Esmeralda was banned out by VFM. You don't want to kind of give it away to Evos SG, and you definitely don't want that to happen in this particular game as well. But Harif will be the first choice because VFM, they won't be going for Harif because of the Chang'e.
That's right, and I would say there's still a whole lot of arsenal of hero pool for the side of Oh Dear Bambi to actually play. Well, I mentioned about Lunox. This is a pretty decent option as well. Or sometimes he will go for things like a Kimi in the sense that it's still considered a semi-marksman mage in that sort of way where this is why Kimi is so unique and it's still being left out in the open. And that means that Evos SG could definitely favor that sort of pickup without any sort of hassle at all. Now, 10 more seconds left, and it will be a Claude ban coming in. And Evos Esports, they got a few more options here in terms of their very final pick. And I feel like they still need yet another solid front to actually play this one off, and it will be the Hylos being locked in for Evos.
Yeah, Evos actually, they are not just building a front, they are not just building their front line, they're building a fortress with that Hylos pick. We've seen in the previous game, VFM, they went for the Hylos themselves. They did not work out at all, not even close to the results that we expected in all of those fights in that short 10 minutes. And right now, Hylos going over to Evos SG. They've had an amazing game with that Grok. They had this robust front line, and you have Carry, one of the best tank shredding marksman late game. I think VF, they're going to fall back to that aggressive playstyle. It's going to be Valir and Granger being hovered over.
Wow, I'm looking at a whole lot of damage output coming from the side of VFM. If they do lock it in, I would say that Evos really got to watch their backs in the early game. And wow, we're seeing a triple mage setup here, which means that the Chang'e will possibly go in as a support.
Yeah, and it seems like...
Or
VFM,
even the Valor.
Yeah, it's either the Valor or the Chang'e.
Yeah.
Kind of a flex for VFM. It's going all out with that damage output. They're going to abandon that double tank. The Xbox is kind of the semi-pseudo tank, but it's going to be Akai. I believe T-Max will be on that hero again to make the space. He has made amazing plays with Hurricane Dance, but this is the most crucial game that he has to pull off those amazing engages.
Now, one thing that can go wrong for the side of VFM, of course, we're looking at all these mages as well as high burst damage output, but in terms of pushing potential, is not really all too much other than the export. Now we're seeing Gord being locked in as the very final choice of Evos SG. And perhaps this might just be the key to the 2-0 victory. Or could it be VFM trying to turn this one around, trying to still fight for the tournament lives? Because either one of these teams could qualify in towards the next phase. And it's really sad to see some of these teams to be bid goodbye to. But end of the day, this is the nature of competition, and only the best will proceed. And who knows, either one of these guys might be able to also fight for the throne if they ever were to step out of the groups.
Yeah, and this group stage is just, this format of this particular group stage is just a brutal one for World Championship, but also it tests your mettle. It tests how good you are, or how much you can persevere. In one day, we're losing 2 teams. Each day, 4 days of group stage, we're losing 2 teams each day. And we'll be bidding goodbye to 2 of them by the end of today as well. This is the second last match and the most important match. And by the end of this, we're already waving goodbye to one of these teams.
That's right. And there are so many teams who flew across the continent, across the globe, to fight for the trophy, to be crowned as the first ever M1 champions. And you know, there's been so many seasons of all these MPL, and it does not come as close as this, because every team are hungry for that spot. And we're seeing VFM as well as Evos still have that sort of fighting spirit. VFM, of course, didn't have a great game 1, but now we're ready to head into its game 2 between Evos Singapore versus VFM. So it's time for us to see who will emerge victorious in game number 2.
Yep, and if this goes to Evos Singapore, once more VFM unfortunately will have to put a full stop on their journey in M1. It's definitely a sad sight to even imagine, but there's still a glimmer of hope for this team. They have had an amazing run so far. They've shown us that even against the Kings, they were able to draw blood. But Evos SG, it shouldn't be a team that stops them from doing what they do best.
That's definitely something that they really would consider and be confident about, because after all, these guys are champions of their respective region. And VFM here, of course, having lucky without all too much luck in the previous game. We hope that he does have some for this time around. And Ace here is already trying to pull the buff away and challenge them, negating them to actually hit those levels in time. And now we're also seeing Xborg playing a little bit more efficiently to just scout out on where the jungler is at. Now T-Max here over on the lower side is already spotting out the Gord as well as all the other members over the lower side. So it shouldn't be too hard to actually lane over the bottom, but over the top side here, it might just be first blood, but Tiny does have a little bit room to breathe.
And then my attention is now on the Gord, on Oh Dear Bambi. His Chang'e in the previous game was phenomenal, the game-winning meteor shower. And this time on the Gord, the later the game goes, the better it is for Evos Singapore. And the best part is because of VFM's particular lineup, you don't really have that hero to dive onto this Gord. So Oh Dear Bambi is in a pretty comfortable spot to do what he wants to do.
That's right, and we're looking at Jiao Piao, who just tangled his way across. And oh, that's pretty much a timed ultimate as well. Bambi just shooting at the camp, but I guess that's what he really wants to get. He wants the goal instead of heading on to something that's not too secure. And Ace might just be first blood right here. He tries to turn things one around, but it will be the kill headed over to the side of Hyde with Oh Dear Bambi.
Yeah, Oh Dear Bambi, definitely a slight whoopsie in that scenario. Doubt that the kill would have come through, but definitely might have prevented that rotation to the top lane to kill off Ace.
That's right, and we're seeing a rival for a side of Tiny as well. Great movements across the map for VC Fantasy main. And now a little bit of 1v1 action between Soul versus Broly. Well, of course, he's not exactly the same guy coming from those Dragon Ball Z movies, but well, Soul himself, he's going to be having a pretty much good time in lane.
Yeah, he's a level behind the Esmeralda as well, so not really a smart move to go for that fight. And they might come for the dive though. They get the pushback and so knock into that wall. Broly coming in, but great save from Ace with that glorious pathway, the extra regeneration that they need. Jiao Piao does use the Guardian's Barrier, but no follow-up from Evos SG.
We're seeing Jiao Piao being really vital in all of these fights. And even Ace right there, he definitely came just in the nick of time to actually do a little bit more for the team. But speaking of the LPL, he's already getting pinned against the wall. Great element from the court, but it will not be able to take down Lucky right there. And Mirror Shower being used from the side of Hyde will not be able to bring down the gourd.
In the meantime, Soul also got took down by Tiny. So 2 kills across the board for VFM. Across the entire map. Definitely, if you are LPL, you kind of overstep in that situation.
Well, it's pretty much a hard decision to actually make, and he just went face checking and he paid the price. Now we're looking at 3-0 in favor of VEC Fantasy Main, and we're slowly seeing all these items coming into fruition, and of course the first tower in the hands of VEC Fantasy Main over the top side.
Definitely a better start for VFM compared to previous game where Evos SG just had them in a chokehold the entire game, but this time VFM, they're going to respond to it, and it seems like an instant jump in with the 1000-pounder. Lucky with the Hurricane that's not able to finish off Ace. He does get the Growers Pathway well, and this means that Evos SG will be able to get out, but Tiny with the ultimate spin strike in, the explosion not enough, the insanity is not that insane after all, but Esmeralda does manage to pick one up, so VFM, they trade one back and they get a turret in return.
This is the VFM that every Vietnamese know how aggressive they could even get, and they're definitely trading back against Evos. Let's have a look into the highlights brought to you by the Yumalal. And of course, Last Insanity forcing all these members from the side of Evos SG back, which is how they managed to eventually claim the turret, and they brought down the Grok as well while they're at it. Now, look at the top side here. Soul trying to take down the tower, but he's being left alone, forced to actually flicker away. But here comes Hyde though, and he's getting all these blocks coming from the side of JLPL. JLPL will take one for the team, but where can this Grok go? As we see Broly right here secures yet another kill for the team.
Yeah, JLPL is just a sacrificial lamb for Evos SG's great wow charge to save Soul. He was about to get taken down by the Esmeralda, but because VFM, such clean maneuver, had an insane goalie, and now Ace might not survive this. Broly comes in with an easy pickup, killing spree for the Esmeralda.
What a dominating performance coming from the side of VFM, and look at that, Evos SG could not even respond, and Ace, you know how tanky Hylos is, and he could not even stand a chance against all these team members, Export, Esmeralda, and we saw the Valor as well. I think one of the keys to this draft is, of course, the Valor pickup here. But I talk about the problem about this draft. The pushing power is not that great over the late game, and what Evos needs to do right now is to stall the match.
Yeah, Soul died for the second time, and it's a killing spree for Hyde. Even though we talk about how Evos SG can easily VSFM don't have the way to access Odir Bambi on that gourd because of those hero picks, but they don't have to do so if they instantly melt to the front line. Evos actually, maybe it was a mistake to give that X-Block tool because we saw how dominant Tiny was in that previous series against Impunity.
Yes, and when we're looking in towards Evos SG here, what they could potentially do is just wait for some certain mistakes coming out from the side of VFM, but they're pretty much behind in terms of level. Look at JLPL, level 7 against level 9. I don't really think that it's really wise for them to actually commit all too much in that sort of sense. And Broly right here, already 3-0, same goes to Hyde. So some of these members have not even fallen for the entirety of this sort of match because they've only got one kill thus far in this sort of match in towards game 2.
Yeah, Evo's actually getting a taste of their own medicine, and it's just VFM now flipping the script. Contrary to game 1, deja vu, but in reverse, in a reverse manner. Evo's actually, like you mentioned, they need to find a way. They need to wait for VFM to make a mistake, but because this is VFM, they're so disciplined, they are choking Evo's SG out. The cause, the carry, the Tamos, the Gore, they were not able to get any resources in. Their only means of getting goal right now is the passive goal, and if they get a pickoff, but it doesn't seem likely that VFM is going to make that mistake.
I would say it's really unlikely. Shell Mass has been utilized, and that's going to be a big Hurricane dance to flush them all out. Killing spree for the X-Borg, and now Last Insanity being popped there by Tiny as well. Not going to connect in towards any of these members.
Lucky!
Oh, look at that go!
Lucky is just so amazing, and this Broly goes in with a 1 versus 3. Ace is low. Broly's gonna start spinning, but he's kind of isolated. He does get the kill onto Ace, somehow still alive, so not able to challenge him as the rest of VFM. They push into the base. Carry also gets taken out, and Broly's just enjoying a little stroll. VFM, they're gonna strike back, so desperately trying to clear out that medium wave, and he will be able to do so. VFM not gonna chase him down with Zhao PL. Now trying to keep the Vietnamese squad at their side of the map, but it might not be a smart move as the old dear Bambi needs some protection, and Zhao PL will be the mid shield, the guardian, the castle for Evos SG, but VFM, they're knocking on the front doors.
And all members are alive from Evos SG. They can buy a little bit more time. Great element from the side of Gord to shut one member off of the side of VFM. Now they're still playing with fire right here. And Tiny, speaking of fire, they're going to spin it right back at them. But Potato wants to trade back. Tries to pop the Fear armor. Righteous Pathway has been opened up from the side of Evos SG as well. They're just trying to clear as much as they can. All these minions are slowly marching in from the top as well as the bottom. But look at the catch over on the side of Tiny. He is playing pretty well, and now that he's got immortality, he can do as he please.
Yep. What's better than 1 life, 2 lives for an X-Brock that is virtually unkillable at this point, and he's just going to continue doing this and allow the rest of his team to get no structure. Last Insanity right on top of Soul, and that's a mega kill for this X-Brock. They're going to try to kill him off 1 time, and they will, but he does have a second life, and Lucky's going to jump in, not able to find that Hurricane Dash just yet. VFM is going to be the second attempt on that Crystal as Evos SG desperately try to hold on, but it cannot die out. We use the Glorious Pathway. He does get the regeneration. He somehow survives that, so Evos SG holds on, but Tiny with the last Insanity not able to get the kill. Carry though, Potato on the killing spree right now. Evos SG is still holding on to that base, and they will survive for a bit longer.
T-Max getting caught out by that server blast coming from the side of Oh Dear Bambi. But look at Broly though, already soloing this Lord, and there's nothing that Evo Singapore can even do to even get anywhere close because they're way too busy defending for their lives. They could not afford to slip up, but VFM is looking way too strong. But look at T-Max getting caught out.
What a flicker from Zhao PL to get that pick-off onto T-Max, so it does give Evos actually a bit more breathing room. Broly, again, trying to go for the inhibitor, not able to find it just yet. Manjan and Wolf in the previous broadcast did call Evo Singapore the Great Wall of Singapore, but VFM just slowly chipping away at those bricks.
You can see the meteor shower definitely is chipping those bricks away, like you said, and look at them go. They're just running around inside of the base, but they still have 2 more towers to go. But it's really brittle, as we can see. It's only down to about 20% left, and with the Lord marching in towards the mid lane, it will prove to be a little bit tougher here. Lucky already using the Hurricane Dash, 2 almost being popped here, as we see the meteor shower as well. Now they're trying to chunk out the Lord, and they're already in the forefront here, committing to towards its fight. It's the fight for their lives, and all 4 members are still left intact, only 1 leaving behind. But Tiny here is going to chunk out Soul. Soul's still alive after that flicker, but Broly will make sure that they will stay dead. And look at last incident come from Tiny as well. This might just be the game, and it will be VFM fighting all the way back. Oh my goodness me! It will be a maniac for the Esmeralda as we see VFM trying to bring this in towards game 3.
And like I said, VFM, they have woken up from their slumber after Game 1. The Vietnamese flag will fly for a bit longer in M1 World Championship. And what a way to push this game to a deciding 3. I wouldn't have it any other way. We're going the whole distance, but Evos SG, that was